Let's jump over to the Western Conference and talk about the Minnesota Timberwolves, a team that was very much hoping for this type of season last year when they traded for Rudy. Of course, Rudy didn't play as well. Cat was injured. They look like they're now putting the pieces together, at least so far this season. Gobert's looking like a depoy again. Ant is looking like he's taking that borderline MVP type jump. And they're a top 3 seed in the West because of it. I'll get your thoughts first, Reek. What have you liked from this Minnesota team so far? And do you think this is something they continue, or do they start to slide back a little bit?
Man, we were just 1 year early. Like we saw the vision,
We
Dad.
were
We saw the vision, but you know, I love what I'm seeing from them, man. They've been a fun team to watch. The defense has been elite. Rudy looks like he's back to his form, and I think it can continue because the defense is that good. And you know, defense wins a lot of games in this league on nights where your offense isn't good. So, you know, with Rudy being back to that level, and then pieces around him buying in on that side of the floor, like we mentioned last week, like even though Cat's offense has been kind of bad this season, like defensively he looks a lot more engaged. He's playing a lot better on the end of the floor. I think Ant's we've seen Ant like in the playoffs and games that really matter to lock in. But this man was locked in on like game 5 of the regular season. That's what you like to see. Like these games that may not seem like they matter, but he's engaged on the end of the floor. Obviously, McDaniels, Nikhil has been a very good piece for them, you know, in that lineup. Mike Conley taking care of the basketball. It's something that can definitely continue. And I think they should be looked at as a team that can be dangerous, like once we get to the later stages in the season, the early stages of the playoffs, because we've seen them in like against Denver last year in the playoffs when they got healthy. Even though it was a 5-game series, they gave Denver a very competitive 5-game series. And with that, another year of experience in the playoffs under their belt. Now we get to see a full season of these guys together, hopefully staying healthy. Can definitely continue. And like it's like they got a lot of young guys like Ant, Jaden McDaniels, Nikhil. These guys are steadily improving too. So, you know, the sky's really the limit for them, and they could really make some real noise in a Western Conference that's kind of hard to predict right now outside of Denver. Dallas look good, obviously, but you know, Denver's like the top dog, and then it's like Dallas has looked good, Minnesota's look really good. Outside of that, like everybody's kind of been like up and down, but Minnesota, that defense is definitely going to travel. It's going to win them a lot of games.
Yeah, no, coming into this season, like when we were doing a lot of our predictions, I was like, last season really seemed to be worst case scenario for this Minnesota team. Like the way Gobert looked, obviously Cat missing time. There was just so many things going wrong, like chemistry issues. There was the whole thing with Rudy and Kyle Anderson. It's like this looks like a mess. And I don't even want to call this season like best case scenario because I don't think it is. Like, the biggest point would be something you already mentioned in that Cat offensive struggle. So not even best case scenario, but just almost just what we, like you said, what we expected year one, or at least what you guys expected from them last year. And it looks good. Like it's so impressive how Anthony Edwards, for as good as he was last year, just makes another jump. Like as good as he was last year, making another 4-point per game jump this season on relatively the same efficiency. That's impressive stuff. He just continues to go from like a rising star to like a true cemented superstar level. Like probably will be in some top 10 talks by the end of this season. Not to mention the way that defense comes together with Anthony Edwards himself playing well in the defensive end, Jaden McDaniels playing well in the defensive end, Cat playing his best defense, Rudy Gobert just finally, like you said, getting back to form. Nikhil can defend. Some other guys off the bench, like they have all of these defensive pieces from top to bottom, and it's like, yeah, I think this defense is legit. And if the main question is, can they keep being this good all season? Now, will they be the 3 seed? I don't know about that, but like, will they be easily above the play-in? I think they will, because something like defense, like I don't think this is going to go away overnight. Like, will there be some games where teams get super hot and put up a bunch of points on them? Yeah, I'm sure, because it's basketball and that happens. But overall, over the course of the next 70 games they have left, yeah, I think this defense is going to look really legit. They're going to have a lot of nights where teams just can't make nothing, can't do anything against them. And Anthony Edwards and them are going to do just enough on offense to really get some wins out of here. And if Cat's offense gets back to what it can be, damn near the second, third best offensive big in the league, they're going to look scary. they're going to look real scary. And even if they only finish like as a 5 seed, only like 3 seeds higher than they were last year, this team is miles better. Miles better.
Yeah, they've looked significantly better, and barring any significant injuries or any significant changes that are unforeseen, they look like a top 4 seed in the West to me. And that defense is the biggest bit of it. That defense has just been that good. I mean, we haven't seen a defensive rating this good since the Bucks in the 1920 season, I believe, and the Timberwolves are even a little bit better than that. So they're in a great spot defensively. Their personnel is great. I mean, Gobert's having a great year. Cat's been better. McDaniels, we know what he does. Ant still had lapses, but he's been a little bit more consistent on that end, which has been nice to see. We've talked about Nikhil. Naz Reid still does his thing, and he's been shooting like crazy from threes at about 54% right now from three, which has been a big help to them. Nikhil's been shooting really well. They've just really had all the pieces come together. Now, I don't know if some of that three-point shooting will continue from some of those role players. We've mentioned the Cat struggles. That's been smoothed out for the most part since the first 3-4 games of the season. He had one rough night against the Celtics, but other than that, he's been much improved. He's looked much more comfortable from three. Getting downhill, he's looked a lot better. He's got his cuts going again. His driving game has looked a lot better. So that's starting to figure itself out. And if that's the case, if they're healthy, there's no reason why they can't continue to be this good. How this system works in the playoffs, that's still the biggest question. But for the time being in the regular season, I really like what they got going. The three big system with Naz Reid, Gobert, and Cat, as unorthodox as it might be, it's really been working. The defense, even with Cat and Gobert, has been good. The defense with Gobert and Naz Reid is great. They have offense galore with Towns and Naz Reid on the court. Anytime they have that, they can go 5 out. They have a ton of spacing. And Ant just continues to do his thing, like we've said. Very efficient, drawing free throws at a higher rate. Playmaking has improved. He's averaging over an assist more a game this year than he was last year. Still settling for a few more tough threes than I would like, but we're getting pretty nitpicky at this point. I mean, this is, like you say, Gabe, a guy who's going to be entering borderline top 10 conversations very quickly, if not already, and very deservedly so. So I like what I'm seeing from the Timberwolves. Nothing about what I'm seeing from them so far seems like something they can't continue to produce throughout the rest of the regular season. And given the fact that Cat and Gobert are still only touching like 35, 40 games together, they're probably only going to get more comfortable, get better. Some of this high-low action that we're seeing, which I really like and I think has a lot of promise, is probably going to get cleaned up a lot more because there's some opportunities there. And there's still just a lot of plays there where Cat's missing a pass, there's a bit of miscommunication, or Gobert doesn't quite have the timing right. That's only going to continue to get better. So there's a lot of things like that I think give them another 40, 50 games into this season. They're only going to look better, specifically between Gobert and Cat. So I really like what I'm seeing here, and I think they should continue to be, if not as good as they've been so far this year, then pretty darn close, and they should comfortably be in the postseason.
Hey, real quick, I gotta kind of double up on something you said. Naz Reid has been cooking.
Thanks.
I see.
I was about to say the same thing.
Every time he has a good game, bro. Wolves Twitter, Wolves Brazil, the whole, bro. I thought like that like three. Like the three big thing, I thought one of them was gonna end up getting a little phased out. Like a lot of people thought Cat would be on the trade block, or Naz Reid might up and leave to get like a bigger role somewhere. They found a way to make it work, and Naz Reid has been very effective, even as the third big on the depth chart. So shout out to him for maintaining to be like even better than he was last year with objectively less opportunities because Cat is back in the rotation full time.
It works because they're all like different types of players. Like Rudy does what he does as the defensive anchor. Cat is, when he's on, he's that offensive engine type of guy. And Naz Reid, he's just a bucket. Like he just comes on, like he's kind of like just the ultimate bench guy. He's just in a big man form and he does all those things. So that's why it works out and has been working so far. And that's a good point, Dev, how you mentioned like Cat, Rudy, like 40 games tops is what they played together, right? And also you got to throw in Mike Conley coming in at the deadline last year. That's really what changed their season around is when they got Mike Conley. Like he just made them a lot more steady on the offensive side of the floor. So big shout out to Mike Conley because he's been taking care of the basketball like crazy so far this season. I don't think he still has that one turnover on his record, but for a minute it was just one turnover to like 20-something assists. So it's great that they made that move last trade deadline because even though like we mentioned at the time D'Lo might be a more talented basketball player, but Mike Conley's the kind of vet that you need, especially next to an Ant who's a young rising star, and with a team that just needed some steady point guard play, some steady leadership, and that's exactly what Mike Conley provides.
He had that Gobert chemistry too, and from the Utah days, like him coming in and now Gobert looks way better this season. I'm not gonna say it's causation, but it might be a little correlated,